Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan. I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're coming at you with the midweek update in the world of cannabis. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, please just leave a like on it as it really helps out my channel. And of course, if you want to learn how to take advantage of this generational investment opportunity, subscribe below so that you don't miss any future videos, and there's plenty of content for you to go back, rewatch, and educate yourself with. I've tried to put all the news and facts in one place so you can watch episodes over time to learn about the evolution of the industry, identify top companies that you keep seeing pop up, and take advantage whenever you feel ready. We're going to start with this great news from Emily Manley reporting out of Missouri, as apparently Missouri Cannabis Trade says recreational cannabis sales exceeded 8.5 million during opening weekend, which we love to see. Friday morning, Healthy Living Missouri approved comprehensive licenses for 335 dispensaries, so certainly not lacking at all, which is obviously beneficial for everyone in Missouri involved, manufacturing and cultivation facilities, because fortunately now Missourians 21 and older can buy up to 3 ounces at a time. During Friday alone, Missouri dispensary sold more than 5 million worth of cannabis. That is nearly double the amount Illinois sold on its first day back in January 2020 of roughly 3 million. And think about Connecticut, their first day was like 250,000, so obviously a lot of room for growth. And so more on that from Leafly. This is an article highlighting Missouri tops 12 million in cannabis sales during opening rec weekend. Americans want to vote for legal cannabis with their dollars if they have the opportunity. And so, not going to go through this whole thing. You can pause to read for a bit of a breakdown. Otherwise, the link is in the description if you wanted to check it out and read more about Missouri on their opening weekend. But nonetheless, happy to celebrate them obviously seeing the benefits of ending cannabis prohibition. This one out of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Cannabis sales in New Mexico shattering expectations in their first year, which we love to see. And since last April, when they launched their adult use program in 2022, over $230 million in cannabis sales have been recorded. Experts believe this business is more booming than people realize, and I tend to never agree or listen to any experts, but in this case, I will side with them because, you know, I think just last January, including medical, there was 43 million in total sales, said Scott Cresco, CEO of Prescotti, a cannabis delivery service. And so obviously he's happy, and many in the state are very likely happy that they ended the silly cannabis prohibition and are seeing the benefits. So you can pause to read a little bit more about what's happening in New Mexico. With that, bringing this older article from Maryland Matters, but just wanted to highlight it because we're seeing already Missouri focusing on equal access to opportunity for as many people in their state, launching their market right away, so that their constituents see the benefits and get what they voted for, while as Maryland focusing more on the social equity aspect, that Marxist buzz term that means making everyone equally poor as opposed to providing equal access to opportunity, what most people want and what people tend to think equality, represents. And so all that to say, we're going to have to see what happens with Maryland because much like the states on the East Coast, they're very leftist leaning, and so they obviously want to put social justice at the front of their legalization efforts. But nonetheless, they have a bill that they introduced that they plan to pass that would make cannabis legal as of July 1st, 2023, and it would allow medical stores to transition and open to sell recreational. And then from my understanding, it's July 1st, 2024 when they would expand and allow more dispensaries and probably, give access to people that were harmed by the war on drugs or however they want to deem that. And so with that, just wanted to highlight it is written by Don Murphy, our favorite lobbyist that is active in DC. Really putting in a lot of work and spreading awareness on SAFE. So just wanted to add this in here if you wanted to read it a little bit more on what he thinks is the best path forward for Maryland. But with that as well, link will be in the description. Just wanted to share this article as Maryland's recreational cannabis bill will open marketplace in July, allow for pot cafes. And so at least we're not waiting until July 2024. Instead, luckily, it will be July of this year. And on top of that, they want to allow for pot cafes. The sooner we can normalize that, the better. As we've got public houses for drinking, why not have it for cannabis consumption? And so I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but the link is below if you wanted to read what WYPR has to report on the progress in Maryland. So with that from Routers, I'm not going to focus too much on the story, but just highlighting the common sense thinking that we're getting from judges, which all we can really hope for in this climate. Ban on cannabis users owning guns is unconstitutional, U.S. judge rules. And so again, commendable, highlighting the tradition of focusing on our rights and things that should not be infringed upon no matter what the circumstances are. More on the story if you wanted to read about it, but the main highlight, thank you Aaron Idleheit for just highlighting this so I can sort of summarize the point here. The money quote from the federal court case on possession of guns and cannabis. Even conservative judges appointed by Trump see the absurdity of federal prohibition because it's too easy to just generalize and put people into categories and boxes and then be stupid about it and never change your mind, even if the facts and the reality is completely different based on what you believe. But there are likely nearly 400,000 Oklahomans who use cannabis under state law authorization, and so lumping all those persons, 4,000 people that live in Oklahoma, into a category of dangerous lunatics, as the United States theory requires, is a bridge too far. And so could this just be some foreshadowing into the fact that the best thing I think we could hope for at this climate, because we know Congress isn't going to do anything, nor Biden or the White House, would be that one of the judges deems the federal prohibition unconstitutional and forces Congress to act on it? Wouldn't that be fantastic? But anyways, just wanted to highlight this as a victory for cannabis and common sense. And so with that, on to some news from MSOs. Trulieve introduces new products to Massachusetts for February. And so this one comes out of technical420.com, highlighting that Trulieve announced the February launch of 2 of its proprietary brands in Massachusetts, Roll One on February 3rd and Modern Flower on February 10th. And so it seems like they're expanding into markets where they obviously see a benefit of doing that. And so you can pause to read for more information on here. Otherwise, you can grab the link below if you're interested in learning more about what Trulieve is doing. And with that, just wanted to share this tweet from Puff Daddy highlighting, again, what is in the works for Trulieve. Future stores in Florida, Georgia, West Virginia, and Ohio. And so it seems like this is from their website, just posting up there what is coming soon so that you can see. Currently showing 4 times the store openings, with a few opening in Georgia once they iron out the crinks and finally launch their adult use program. Whatever's delaying it is very annoying and continues to get in the way. But with that, in markets that do exist, we've got 2 coming to Florida, 1 new store coming to West Virginia and Ohio. So love to see Trulieve putting their head down and just executing and expanding while it's still cheap and early, not worrying about what is happening on the scoreboards. And with that, we've got this one from Columbia Care celebrating launch of adult use cannabis sales in Missouri. And so no doubt they're happy to get a chunk of their pie, as they announced it began adult use sales on February 4th at its cannabis dispensary located in Herman, Missouri, as the dispensary had been serving the medical patient community since 2021. Now they can expand into an adult, so no doubt they're happy to see that. This one's fresh off the press as Cresco Labs expands in Pennsylvania with their 11th new store, highlighting that its retail footprint grew to 57 locations nationwide, with today's Sunnyside opening in Erie, Pennsylvania. So you can pause to read more about that, but just happy to announce as well, as a Cresco Lab shareholder, so this is my opinion, not advice, but Cresco Labs and the company featured just before, Columbia Care, are planning to merge and combine to become a new entity that will compete better with some of the larger Tier 1 MSOs. Now, their deal is expected to go through, and they have until the end of March 31st, I believe, and if they don't get the deal done by that deadline, they have 90 days to get it done. Now, I believe both parties are working to get this done, as they both see the the benefits of combining and merging. Especially, it will expand the retail footprint. It will give them much larger wholesale network. A lot of benefits to that. But again, this is just my opinion, why I am a shareholder of Cresco Labs, not advice, just adding context if you're interested. So with that, some more news from states. Tom Angle, thank you for sharing today. The Virginia Senate passed bills to allow recreational cannabis sales to begin and to reschedule psilocybin, which is great news, but not cannabis related. And so you can grab the link below if you wanted to read more. But the main thing to get out of this is that Virginia will launch their adult use market on January 1st of 2024. Why wait until next year, 11 months, just allowing organized crime to proliferate in the meantime, because there's no legal market to compete with them. So unfortunate, but better than waiting until the summer of 2024, which I believe was Virginia's original plan. And so a small victory there. Well, thank you, Todd, for sharing this one. Nevada bill could remove cannabis from controlled substances and strip pharmacy boards' control over it. Now, this would be great. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. I will report on it if it were to happen, but this could also be a massive precedent and maybe get one of the Supreme Court judges to look at the absurdity that is federal cannabis prohibition and deem it unconstitutional when states are forced to act themselves because Congress and the White House won't do their job. And so we don't need several levels of regulation on a substance that we know is part and parcel of our community and part and parcel of our economy. Love to see this optimistic and more promising look towards cannabis. Helps normalize it. But nonetheless, more on this from bazinga.com if you wanted to read through it. And so with that, we got this one out of SILive.com, which I believe is Staten Island, out of New York. And while New York has been such a joke and a shit show, all we can do is laugh and wait for it to get better at this point. Some good news out of there. This bill, a new bill that's been introduced, not passed yet, but it would require medical cannabis to be covered by some insurance plan. So love to see this effort of normalizing cannabis, because if opioids are covered, why shouldn't cannabis be? So if people want to switch to a safer, non-addictive medicinal alternative, they're actually going to save money in the process. So I'm not going to go through this whole thing as it hasn't been passed yet, but if you wanted to learn about this bill, you can grab the link in the description to read more. Wanted to share this one from Joe Greisler, highlighting the power of obviously Elon Musk and Twitter, but 420 message viewed by millions in less than 24 hours. But we'd love to get Elon's attention and put this on his radar, because he could make a change like that overnight. It's crazy to think that the message had been viewed by more than 51.3 million people in less than 24 hours. And so the street wrote about it. You can grab the link below if you're interested. Elon Musk's latest tweet is a daydream for stoners, more like a common sense message that resonates with most of Americans. And so again, we don't know what's going to come, but obviously if Elon could shift a little bit more to this effort, it would be massive. But the guy's got enough on his plate. Can't ask for that much, but again, hey, a couple million even to lobbying wouldn't hurt. And so with that, some studies to share. Axios Des Moines out of Iowa, sorry. Is it Idaho or Iowa? I guess we'll find out. A study finds medical cannabis leads to lower insurance premiums, another unexpected side effect or consequence of ending silly cannabis prohibition. And so more on that out of the University of Iowa. So it is Iowa. And so you can pause read for the details, but mainly what they did, Cameron Ellis, professor at the University of Iowa's College of Business, examined vehicle crash data between 2014 and 2019 by zip code. Then how it works in states with medical cannabis, people started switching from drinking alcohol to consuming cannabis, a big shift they're seeing in many states. Ellis told Axios the different side effects on both substances have major impacts on the road. Between the lines, stores in states that legalize cannabis also happen to see a 12% drop in alcohol sales, according to 2018 study. So just highlighting that when people have access to a legal alternative, they will switch to it, and it reduces a lot of things like alcohol crashes, like drunk driving, and like insurance premiums, which we love to highlight. And so got this one from higherlearninglv.co. It's a study that I've shared in the past, maybe a month ago. I just wanted to share it again as another outlet is relaying the data that is true. But 2023 study, tobacco reduces lung airflow, but cannabis does not, which is again counterintuitive, but according to the study. And so this one is out of respiratory medicine. And so again, you can grab the link below if you wanted to go through it more. Otherwise, you can pause to read mainly what the study was looking at, and some of the details on the study, and then essentially the results. And so just pause to read here if you want to read. Otherwise, you can grab the link below, but there's obviously more to get through, which I wanted to share. Canada.com, highlighting a study that we've already shared as well. But the data don't lie, and we love to see mainstream media outlets sharing the good news, as pot legalization has reduced demand for codeine prescriptions in the US, and that's making Big Pharma scared. So this is from a study that I featured a few weeks back. You can grab the link below if you wanted to read what Canada.com has to say about it. But at the same time, I want to use this as a sad example of how these once informative outlets have just become ad spaces. The internet is unfortunately so contaminated. Hopefully, once we make our small fortunes after safe passing, we can just get off social media and exist happily in the real world. But with that, ad, oh god, ad, full page ad, like my gosh. Some of these articles just makes your blood boil. And so with that, some more good news though from Science Direct. Cannabinol inhibits cell growth and triggers cell cycle arrest and apoptosis in cancer cells. So just wanted to relay some of their findings in this. CBN is a weak psychoactive cannabinoid and has been shown to exert several biological activities. At the same time, not much is known about the anti-cancer activities of CBN because cannabis is a Schedule 1, and until we deschedule it, we can't really study and look for the medical benefits. So that's the unfortunate reason. But in this report, we characterize the anti-tumor effects of CBN on the yada, yada, yada. That should be worth looking into more and cause for descheduling, right? And then so taken together, these results offer new insights into the anti-cancer properties of CBN. Again, so much more to be learned if we finally deschedule the plant and allow more research to look at the medical benefits as opposed to trying to find harms that we couldn't find in the past. And so with that, another one from Science Direct, pharmacological research, cannabidiol alters mitochondrial bioenergetics via VDAC1 and triggers cell death in hormone refractory prostate cancer. Whatever that means, sounds beneficial and worth descheduling, so we can look into it, right? So again, in spite of huge advancements in both diagnosis and interventions, according to them, hormone refractory prostate cancer remains a major hurdle in prostate cancer. Main thing to highlight, again, this is just from the abstract, still worth sharing, because however, when optimally combined, these two cannabinoids exhibited strong anti-tumor effects, something we should be looking into more if anything done in the name of public health was really about public health, in tramp mice, even when these had become refractory to enzalutamide, thus pointing to their therapeutical potential against PCA. So again, deschedule the damn plant. This one from the future, actually, March 2023 as well. So we'd love to see it. And then just highlighting that, mainstream media outlets, Big Pharma is paying for the propaganda. Everything sponsored by Pfizer. But it's another perfect and pathetic example of fake journalists cherry-picking data and then presenting it as actual research findings when it's really just propaganda. And this one comes from Politico.com. What the hell, Natsfertig? How can people still get away with this? Congress is starting to notice pot's ill health effects. Now that a growing body of evidence says cannabis is bad for you, yeah, where? And studies that haven't been funded by money that has a hidden agenda and, deceitful intentions in the long run. More regulation is in the offing, yeah, whatever. And so, as Hirsch Jain highlights, imagining my grandfather steeped in a Hindu culture in which cannabis has been an essential part of Ayurvedic medical practice for thousands of years, laughing at this article and its studies. And I'm just happy to highlight that people are way smarter now, thanks to the internet and many other factors, but we can laugh at this and see right through the garbage, as if cannabis is something new that the West invented, and now they need to control because it's so dangerous. So with that, just wanted to share what some smart people found after some digging. So thank you, Sam Reisman, for sharing this one. Headline, smoking cannabis can cause emphysema, study says. Actual study, of the 56 cannabis smokers in the study, 50 smoked tobacco. So there were actually only 6 cannabis smokers in the study. That's kind of misleading. The study's authors referring to this cohort as marijuana smokers without qualification, and reporters adopting that framing seems very dishonest. And then they try to present that as propaganda. And so while the original study that Politico referenced, you need to pay $30 to get the whole PDF to get into the details. I wasn't willing to pay that. So again, keep this in mind. I'm just sharing what Sam found, but he also shared his the source. So studypubs.rsna.org. But again, highlighting that when you think about it critically, you can pinpoint where they frame these studies in a context using half-truths, not telling the whole story, and that's how they present it as bullshit to the public, but sadly the public eats that up. And so again, thank you, Lindsay, Carmela Bartlett for also finding this and highlighting it. Reefer Madness disguised as research. I wonder why Politico doesn't dig deeper into these studies. Cannabis doesn't cause emphysema. The study doesn't differentiate from tobacco smoke and weed smoke and only looked at 56 people. Very irresponsible journalism. And so, great comment down here, Joe Greisler. Keeping some sponsors happy. Yeah, brought to you by Pfizer, no doubt. And so, with that, just wanted to share this little personal anecdote because I found this interesting. And could this be an indicator? Probably not, but just wanted to use this time to share. Equity.guru, which is a site I haven't visited in a very long time, since the summer of 2021, even before I decided to teach myself piano and go all in on music. At the time, I didn't have a job, and I was trying to pitch to this guy an idea where I would make little 30-second or minute snippets about companies on TikTok to try and grow his brand there so I can make a bit of income. Didn't end up working out, but so I had one call with this guy, Chris Perry, the owner of the site. He's a nice dude. I don't know him well enough to give an opinion, but he's an experienced marketer, and at the time, he was very bearish on cannabis. I should have listened to him. I was high on the hopium, believing that politicians might keep their promises. You live and you learn. But nonetheless, why I bring this up, because it's kind of interesting if you look at it from my point of view. Cannabis stock set for a reversal. Now, this was written as of today from someone named Vishal Tura, so take this with a grain of salt, but main thing to highlight, while, fundamental or technical analysis hasn't been very helpful in this industry after a long while, mainly because it's so cyclical, and, we learned that after a long time. Main thing to highlight is this little snippet down here. As any of you know, Chris Perry is the man who called the cannabis boom and bust. He told investors when it was time to take their profits. He was correct. Chris hasn't been too bullish on the cannabis space, so when he brings up a cannabis company that he likes in 2023, it really should get your attention, mainly because he has his first weed client in 5 years. And this is not an endorsement for Equity.guru or BC Bud Corp, as this just happened to come across my page this morning, and I couldn't help but notice it, find it, and think it was worth interesting and sharing. So take from it what you will, but again, happy to highlight the facts on the ground as the state-led growth story chugs along. And that is it for today's episode, folks. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in, and I really hope you got some value out of it. What did you think of the stories mentioned? Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or suggestions, and I'd be happy to address them. But besides that, if you enjoyed this video or you learned something, please just leave a like on it. Subscribe below if you don't want to miss any future videos, and I will catch you on Sunday for This Week in Cannabis News. Have a great week, everybody.